Hey, it's Marley. Welcome to my booktube channel. Today we're doing my November reading wrap-up, so talking about all of the books that I read in the month of November. It is the second last reading wrap-up of the year. Let me know how your reading month went down below. As always, let's start off with going through my stats for the month, and then we can get into the individual book reviews. All right, so this month I read 9 books, which is slightly above average for me. Normally I read 7 or 8, so that's good. It was approximately 3,086 pages, and hours listened was 15 because we actually had multiple audiobooks this month, which is rare for me. The average rating was 3.6, which is very, very typical for me. And then in terms of books acquired, oh my god, 15. I really was going off this month. I had multiple book hauls from multiple stores. Yeah, apparently I just really wanted to treat myself this month. So wow, that's a lot. And then own voices, only 2 books would really be considered own voices. In terms of the genres that I read, we have a bit of a mix here. I read 3 romance books and 3 nonfiction books, which is crazy. On this channel, I do not read a ton of nonfiction, but this month I just happened to read more. Then we had 1 thriller, 1 fantasy, and 1 contemporary. In terms of the formats that I read the books in, as I was mentioning, I did listen to 3 audiobooks, so that's rare. I read 5 ebooks, and then I just had 1 physical book. In terms of the audience of the books I read, all books were adult books this month. We did not have any young adult, which kind of makes sense with reading so much nonfiction. There's not really nonfiction YA books. They're mainly for adults. And then in terms of the author gender, I read from 7 female authors and 2 male authors. And in terms of author status to me, I actually read from 6 new to me authors. So mainly new authors for me, and then just 3 that I had read from before. And then in terms of year published, we had 1 new release from 2025, and then we had 3 from last year in 2024, 1 from 2021, 2 from 2020, 1 from 2019, and then 1 from 2017. And then I think this stat is up to date, but since I did acquire so many books this month, let's check in on my books acquired. So apparently I have spent $675 on books. That's crazy. That has to be more than I've ever spent. And then the percentage that I've read is 56, which I guess is not terrible to have read over half of the books that you've bought. So I actually thought maybe that would be worse. All right, now let's get into the book reviews. So starting out, I had 1 book that I decided not to rate, and that was the Diaries, or the Alphabetical Diaries by Sheila Heti. This is one of the nonfictions, and this is one of the audiobooks I listened to. I think I decided not to rate it just because, you know, as I mentioned, I'm still a little bit new to reading so much nonfiction. Sometimes I'm not totally sure how to rate nonfiction books, especially when it was an audiobook. And I'm also not comfortable with listening to audiobooks that much. Sometimes I just feel like I'm not getting the full experience because maybe I zoned out for like a minute here or there, and sometimes I don't feel like I got the full experience. So it's kind of a mixture of that. I didn't really feel like I wanted to read this book. Also because it is about someone else's life, and sometimes you just feel a little bit weird like critiquing that. But this book was interesting because it was this woman's diaries, Sheila's diaries. I forget from how long, if it was like a 5-year period or something, and she put every sentence of her diary in alphabetical order. So very interesting premise, but it led to, you know, obviously the book not really making like narrative sense, but just getting these statements one after the other. And it was definitely an interesting reading experience. Like, I'm glad that I read it. I think listening to the audiobook, I feel like this is one where it actually kind of did work for, like, I think the format kind of did work for this. It definitely had me gagged a little bit at times, and it was just kind of interesting to hear, because they're in alphabetical order, it might be saying, I like this, and then just seeing how like her opinions would change, because maybe it's taking, you know, a sentence from one year and then it's taking a sentence from the other year, and they're very like conflicting statements, either about, you know, the people in her life, about certain thoughts, how she's feeling, and just seeing like the difference in her opinions, or sometimes the similarities. I don't know. I'm someone who does keep a journal as well, and I do go back and read my journal sometimes. So this is an experience I'm kind of used to, seeing how there are patterns in your life or how things can shift so much in your life. So definitely definitely interesting, but I don't know why I just did not feel like rating it. Maybe it would be like a 3 or a 4 star though if I had to. The next book I want to talk about is one of my lowest rated books of the month, and that is The Comfort Book by Matt Haig. I actually gave this 2 stars. This is another one that's a nonfiction, and that was an audiobook that I listened to. The reason that I read this is in my TBR game for the month that I did, I put in a prompt that was like books for people with social anxiety, because I just wanted to read a book that maybe I could relate to. I had a good experience when I read this book called Shy a while ago. I really related to it, found it helpful, and gave it 5 stars. So I kind of wanted an experience like that. And I had heard of Matt Haig before. I, of course, read The Midnight Library. So I gave this a shot, but honestly, I just don't think this was like a helpful book for me. I don't think this was really needed to be published, and I think listening to the audiobook for this one did hinder my experience. Matt Haig is basically just talking about random things about life, trying to inspire you, trying to be uplifting, talking about his own experience with depression and what has helped him, listing like recommendations for like media, like shows or movies or like music to listen to, having random inspirational quotes from people, just a collection of things that I didn't really find useful. And I think listening to the audiobook, it was Matt Haig that actually narrated it, and he has a British accent. I think that also hindered my experience. Like, you kind of have to concentrate when you're listening to someone speak in an accent different from your own. And so I feel like I would really like kind of have to be concentrating, kind of miss things here or there. I think if I was listening to it in my own voice, like reading it myself, maybe it would be a little bit more comforting. So if you are going to read this, I would say just read it yourself. Maybe don't read it all at once, like just kind of spread it out from when you really feel like you need like some inspiration. But yeah, I really don't think this is anything revolutionary, like, oh, inspirational quotes, oh, like, wasn't great. Then I had another 2-star read this month, which you may have already seen. I did a reading vlog in November. It definitely flopped, so probably you have not seen it. It did not get many views. I read a bunch of books that had type 1 diabetic characters in them because it was National Diabetes Awareness Month, and I have type 1, and I enjoy reading books with type 1 representation and seeing if I connect with it, seeing if it was good representation or not. So one of the books I read for that, they were all romances, but one of them was Fangirl Down by Tessa Bailey. So Tessa Bailey is a pretty popular romance author, but not one that I was really that interested in reading until I saw she was covering type 1 in this book. And obviously by this rating, like, I'm not going to pick up any more of her books. She was not for me, but I totally see why she would be for some people. So anyways, in this book, we have our main character who is a fangirl of this famous golf player, this professional golf player. She's been a fan of him for years. She's just kind of in general a big golf fan. But this guy, Wells, has got a really bad reputation for himself now. He used to be really good. He was like a young up and coming player, and now he has a terrible reputation. He's not playing well anymore, but he's also getting into a lot of trouble off the course, like getting into fights and stuff like that. But she's standing by him. She's still being a fan of his. Anyways, when she comes into some financial issues with her business that she runs, and she also has type 1 diabetes, so this medical condition where she really needs money to, you know, afford her insulin, afford her care, he decides to kind of throw her a bone because he's charmed by her and sees how much she is, you know, believing in him. So he asks for her to be his caddy in the next tournament, and then if he does well, like, she will get a big share of what he's paid and will really help her out financially, and he will benefit because he'll have this caddy who really cares about him and can kind of motivate him to get back into golf. Sorry, I'm talking so in detail about this book. Anyways, so that is the initial premise of the book. The reason I rated it so lowly, I did think the diabetic representation was decent. I don't think it was like the perfect representation. I didn't personally connect with everything, but it was decent enough, and I appreciated her putting this representation into one of her books. But what really put me off from this is how quickly the couple got together, how smut heavy the book became, and I really did not like the character of Wells. He was not a love interest that I personally enjoyed. We also have to hear from his point of view. It's dual point of view. Really was not the romance book for me, but I see why Tessa Bailey is for a lot of people. Her spicy scenes are quite interesting, quite different from like your typical generic spicy scenes. So I totally understand fans of her, but this is not going to be for me. Continuing on, we're just going to get through the other romance diabetic books that I read because I did rate both of them 3.5 stars. So next up we have Only and Forever by Chloe Liese. This is actually the 7th book in the Bergman Brothers companion romance series. Again, I do see why she's a popular romance author. She's not going to be one of my favorites, but again, I did appreciate the type 1 diabetes representation in this book. I don't think it was perfect. I think there was definitely flaws. You can tell Chloe Liese does not have the disease herself, but I do appreciate what she did include. The premise of this one is that we have two people who met years before but did not get off on the right foot. I think there was mutual attraction there, but they just did not really speak to each other actually. And now it's years later, they are kind of friends of the family, so they end up meeting again and deciding to help each other out. Our main guy, sorry I'm forgetting the name, what was his name? Vigo. He's starting his own bookstore. He's needing help, so she decides to help him out with the bookstore, start working for him, and in exchange he would give her advice on the book she's writing because she is an author and she's having a bit of writer's block. So that's how they're helping each other out, and they also decide to live together during this time. This is a romance I would recommend for people who really like romances where like you're only seeing the couple together. There are, romances out there that maybe lean a little more women's fiction, literary fiction, where you're seeing other aspects of the characters, other storylines, maybe with their work, with their other family and friends. This is one where it's like you're only seeing the main couple's moments together. So if you like that kind of thing, you could check this out. Similar, but not being totally to my taste in that I feel like the couple got together a little too quick for me, and then there was a little bit too much smut. And it also got very, very cheesy at the end, which is not really my vibe, but still, a decent romance. And then the final book I read for that vlog, which I will have linked down below, by the way, if you want to watch that full vlog, it's Salty, Spice, and a Little Bit Nice by Cynthia Timoti. This one had the best diabetic rep of those 3 books. You can tell the main character, I forget what it was, her son was diagnosed, so she has that intimate connection. And in this book, the main character was diagnosed as a kid, and the parents didn't really react great. They were very restricting to her, not letting her have sugar, even though type 1s definitely can have sugar as long as they're taking their insulin with it. So there was a lot of toxicity there. And also the parents were just very, very controlling of her in every aspect of her life, including work and her love life. So at the beginning of the book, she just kind of takes off and abandons her family when she finds out how manipulative they were being to her. So she goes off to this new city to start over and start her own business. There's a big theme of having your own business in these books. And while there, she ends up getting the help of her brother's best friend who lives nearby, and she of course has a past with him. She grew up having a crush on him and then later growing to have this resentment towards him, which we find out more about why later. But he starts helping her, and again they start living together because she needs a place to stay. He also needs something from her. He needs a fake girlfriend for something related to his work. So then we also have this fake dating storyline as well that's kind of forcing them together. The writing in this was not amazing. Really why I rated it as high as I did of 3.5 is the type 1 representation was really good, really moving, and just overall enjoyed that a lot. But the overall writing was pretty cringe. I didn't love the characters. They were pretty annoying, and the romance was just kind of fun. It was just kind of whatever. So I really would only recommend this for fellow diabetics if you want to feel seen, or other people just wanting to learn more about type 1. All right, moving on, we have Luster by Raven Leilani. This was another audiobook that I read. I basically just randomly decided to get it because I saw it was a bit of a shorter book, and I am behind on my reading goal. I'm trying to hit 100 books, and I honestly might not hit it. So I'm trying to just read some shorter audiobooks. That's also why I read the Alphabetical Diaries, is because it's a pretty quick audiobook. So anyways, I listened to this one. It was pretty good. I rated it 4 stars. It was very interesting. So it's about this young Black woman. She's working working in publishing. We're learning a little bit about her past and some trauma in her family and such. We know she's definitely in a certain place in her life because she is basically having a lot of relationships with older men, a lot of older white men, kind of being like a sugar baby kind of situation. It's pretty darkly funny. A lot of her thoughts are quite humorous, but then it's also quite sad. I saw someone's review of this saying how you're kind of feeling removed from the characters. Like you're a little bit removed from our girl and the story, but it's very interesting to watch. It's a unique literary fiction book. Basically, we're really just seeing her. She gets into this relationship with this one older white man. She then gets involved with the whole family, getting to know his wife, as the wife is aware of this affair and supports it to a certain extent, and their black daughter that they obviously adopted. And so she starts living with this family. It's a really weird dynamic, as you can tell, but she's, bonding with the daughter. Overall, has a positive influence on the family. I don't know. It's an interesting story. I wasn't quite sure how to feel about it by the end, but I feel like it was effective in what it was doing. And I don't want to hold against it the fact that I listened to the audiobook, and that's not my favorite way to read. So I did just go ahead and give it 4 stars. So yeah, this was an interesting one. Then I read Behind Her Eyes, finally, by Sarah Pinborough. This is a book I've been hearing about on BookTube for many years. I knew it was a thriller that had a really big twist. I had been spoiled a little bit about the book, and so I was nervous. I was like, maybe I will not be surprised by the twist because I've heard some things. But let me tell you, I was still surprised. So I give it 4.5 stars. Was tempted to give it 5, but I don't know. I just kind of was like, I'll give it 4.5. We have multiple people we're following. So our main character is this single mom. She's working part-time. She's being this single mom, trying to kind of find love, trying to put herself out there again. She ends up hooking up with this man she meets in a bar and then finds out it's her new boss. When she goes into work the next week, she's like, oh, he's my new boss. So that's really awkward. We're also hearing from that man's wife's point of view. She is a stay-at-home wife. Anyways, they end up befriending each other. It's a very ominous tone. You're wondering what's going on. You're getting some flashbacks. I actually don't even know what else to say, but that is the vibe. So it sounds very domestic thriller, but it's more than that. It's giving a bit of a question is this paranormal, which is something I really like in my thrillers. But yeah, I thought I had it figured out. I felt like I was putting everything together throughout the book, and then there was that final twist that got me. So definitely would recommend this if you're a big thriller person, a big plot twist person. Definitely check it out. I know it's a Netflix show too. Hopefully you didn't get spoiled by watching that. If you watched it and read the book, let me know if I should now go watch the show. All right, another book that I read was Hidden Valley Road by Robert Kolker. This was actually a book I didn't technically rate either, but I know as I've been reflecting, I think I am going to rate it 4.5 stars. It's my book club book for the month, and I haven't met with my book club yet. I kind of wanted to wait until I had discussed it with them to figure out my rating, but I think I'm going to give it 4.5. I really did enjoy it. If I didn't say, it's a nonfiction, and it's about this family. We're following from I think the 40s up till present day, and basically this family, there was the parents and there were 12 kids that they had, and 6 of the kids ended up having schizophrenia. So you're really learning about this family, the whole history of the family, you learn how the parents met and everything, the whole story of all these kids, and as each of them kept getting diagnosed, kept getting sick, presenting these psychosis symptoms. And you're also just kind of learning in general about schizophrenia and how it was perceived during this time, the research that was going on, the treatment that they were doing, the different medications that they're prescribing, just the state of schizophrenia and the mental health community. I thought it was really, really well done. The mixture of hearing about the family and hearing about in general schizophrenia, seeing how this family helped out with a lot of the research. It was really, really upsetting. If you don't want to read an upsetting book, then do not read this. But if you are prepared for that, if you want to learn more about schizophrenia, I would definitely recommend it. It was really, really interesting. And this is again coming from someone who doesn't read a ton of nonfiction, but reading this book is one of the reasons I think I really do want to read more nonfiction next year and just be learning about more of these interesting topics. So yeah, I highly recommend this book. And then my favorite book of the month, the final book I'm going to talk about, is The Starless Sea by Erin Morgenstern. So this is the author of The Night Circus, which I gave 4 stars. I really liked. Yeah, this one I liked even more. I was a little bit hesitant. I'm like, am I going to give it that full 5 stars? But I decided I am going to. I need to be more open to giving books 5 stars. Like, I need to just accept it. But this one is interesting. So our main character, Zachary Ezra Rollins, he is this man. He's in school. He's, I think, getting his master's degree. He's really a fan of stories, right? Specifically video games. He's really a fan of storytelling, reading books, that kind of thing. So he's in the library one day. He picks up this book, skims through it, starts reading a little bit of it, finds that there's literally a chapter that is about him. It's a memory that he has from when he was young, where he was walking down the street, he saw this door, and he decided not to open it. And that is something that like happened to him. He's called the fortune teller's son, and his mom's a fortune teller. So he's like, this is literally about me. Like, is this play about us? So he's like, how can this story about me be in this random book? There's no author. And so he starts investigating, like, what is this book? Who wrote it? And there's the book is full of all these different kind of weird, whimsical stories, right? And so in between the chapters of you seeing Zachary, you're also seeing the stories from this book. A lot of them have to do with a lot of symbolism. There's a lot of symbolism. There's a lot of metaphors in this book. There's stories that have to do with pirates, have to do with time, have to do with kings, owl kings, like, it's definitely weird. And I was looking up, it's one of those books that you want to look up a lot after and see what people are saying. A lot of people do hate this book because I think it's so mysterious, whimsical, not clear cut at all. Like, I was reading it and I'm trying to remember like things that were referenced before. I'm trying to make the connections. And to be honest, by the end, you don't even, I think there are some loose ends. I think some of it's left up to interpretation. I think you just have to be a fan of the vibes. So if you want like a really clear cut book, everything is explained, then this book would not be for you. I think I just kind of got into like the mystery of it, the whimsicalness of it. The reason I read it this month is because when I was doing my TBR game, I wanted books that gave the same vibes as Labyrinth, the movie with David Bowie. It's one of my favorite movies. And so this one is kind of giving that vibe where, yeah, like it's this weird fantasy, like it's not a straightforward narrative. So I really enjoyed this one. I'm feeling better that like I'm figuring out more of my reading taste after having such a kind of drought this year. Not a lot of 5 stars, not a lot of books I was obsessed with. I think books like this that have to do with storytelling, that are whimsical and dark and kind of dark academia vibe. This is not really dark academia, but like I could see it kind of being in line with that because it has to do so much with like literature, storytelling, secret societies even. So yeah, if that's not interesting to you, check it out. It is a pretty popular book. You probably already have heard of it, but I'm glad that I finally read it. And so now it'll be one of my favorites of the year. So that is my November wrap up. Let me know what you think. Let me know if you have opinions on any of these books as well. But yeah, thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a great rest of your week, a great final month of the year, and I'll see you soon with a new video soon. I'm gonna have all my best and worst of the year content coming out. So be sure to subscribe so you can see it. All right, bye.